All right, we are back on the PHLY Eagles podcast, joined by Brian Baldinger for our weekly in-depth discussion of what's going on with the Eagles. First of all, Baldy, how are you?
I'm good, Bo. I mean, we're in the month of December right now, and I'm going to go see those 49ers out there this weekend, and then Monday night see Miami. So I've got a couple games to get ready for, but this is the stretch run, and I'm ready for it. I'm geared up.
Well, I mean, what a performance it was from that Niners team on Sunday against the Eagles. Let's start with the Niners offense against the Eagles defense. 6 straight touchdown drives. After those first 2 drives, there was really nothing they could do to stop them. I guess when you watch that, how do you separate what the Niners did really, really well versus what the Eagles needed to do better?
Well, I mean, they got to tackle better. I mean, it always starts with Bo, with just tackling. Tackling and getting off blocks. Like those are just the basics. I don't care what level of football. They got to tackle better than they did. Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, just running through tackles. I mean, Brock Purdy breaking a tackle. I mean that the tackling was atrocious. So that's the first thing. If I was, Sean is here, and I was Sean Desai, if I was like pointing out, okay, where we can fix this thing, it'd start with tackling, and then basically getting off blocks. Whether it's tackling McCaffrey, or whether it's open field running and getting off blocks if you're a secondary player. Those things you got to do. And then, obviously, they got matchups that they wanted. They got McCaffrey against Nick Morrow. I mean, no linebacker wants to see that in the open space. That's just tough. But the quarterback was unaffected also, though, Bo. Like, it was a clean shot. It was an easy read. It was a great throw, but it wasn't like he was under any kind of pressure, And so they do a lot of play action, as everybody knows. And they had designed play actions against Hassan Reddick to get it to Kittle. And there's some good plays they had. But I think overall, anytime you have 6 straight possessions for touchdowns, like the San Francisco did, you have to look at yourself and you have to look in the mirror and go, all right, this is what we can do better. To hell with what San Francisco does.
Yeah, we were talking about this on the show yesterday, and obviously the Eagles linebackers were not good in that game, right? And Kyle Shanahan was able to design a game plan that put those guys in conflict, and then they were also just missing tackles. But that's like the way this defense is designed. That's the way that they've built the roster, and we knew that the linebackers were not going to be good, but the defensive line, you've got all these highly paid guys, all these former first-round picks, and they did not affect the game like they are expected to. Is that for you? The Niners' offense the offensive line did such a good job. I like the clip of Trent Williams with the chop swat on Jalen Carter on your Twitter, which everybody should watch. Is it that? Is it the misdirection, or is it like this defensive line is not giving the Eagles right now what they're paying for, and in the middle of this very difficult stretch, maybe all those snaps have sort of caught up to them a little bit?
Yeah, I don't want to use that as an excuse. I mean, you play whatever it takes. I mean, if you're on the field 95, snaps against Buffalo, whatever it was, I mean, that's on them. But to answer your question, though, Bo, I'm with you on this. Like, they put all their resources into the defensive line, and they've got and they rotate them. They're designed to stay fresh and rotate through. There's a 4 tackle defensive line rotation. There's a 4 defensive end rotation, and they're not making impactful plays. And I have seen Brock Purdy under pressure against Cleveland throw an interception. I've seen him under pressure where you can force him into some mistakes. And they didn't do that. They didn't come close to doing that. And so I'm not buying it's week, 13, and they played a lot of snaps and they're in a gauntlet of game. This is what they're paid to do. And you're right. They don't emphasize the linebacker position. We'll see I'm sure we'll get to it. We'll see what Shaq Leonard is and what he can do. But look, injuries are part of every team. If you get gutted, okay. I mean, I would have kept TJ Edwards myself, not hindsight. He's just an every down linebacker. He's doing the same thing in Chicago right now. But they went in a different route, and they were saying, okay, our defensive line, that's where you have to put your resources. All right. And I agree with that. And the best defense in the league put a lot of resources there. But I would say that they've got to play a lot better than what we've seen.
Well, you mentioned him, Shaq Leonard. This is not the first time we've talked about this with the Eagles this season. A guy with an All-Pro, Pro Bowl history coming in midstream. How much of an impact can he make? But I guess what are your reasonable expectations for Shaq Leonard at this point?
Well, I mean, I'm a Shaq Leonard fan. I'm a friend. I've known him since his rookie year. I mean, he was All Pro. It was weird. Like he wasn't in the Pro Bowl his rookie year, but he was All Pro.
Right.
So I just never forgot that. But the Eagles saw him when Carson Wentz was quarterback here. I mean, sacks, interceptions, forced fumbles. He's got 39-inch arms. He's got excessively long arms. He pokes the ball out. He just wasn't doing that in Indianapolis. I mean, ever since he had the neck injury, the surgery, he hadn't looked like the same player. I'm not saying he can't be the same player, but he hasn't looked like the same player since a couple of surgeries. So he's going to get that opportunity now. I mean, he was basically beaten out by Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed in Indianapolis. They're both playing really good football, but he's going to get a great opportunity here, a great opportunity to be that playmaking inside linebacker. I don't know the last time we've seen, really big plays from the linebacker. I know Nick Morrow, I think, recovered a fumble this year, and I think Zach Cunningham's had a couple, but on a steady basis, we just haven't seen an inside linebacker make splash plays, takeaways. I mean, they're at the bottom of the list right now in that department. They need somebody that can do that.
There's no doubt about that. Let's flip to the other side of the ball. Give you a chance to brag on your boy a little bit, Lane Johnson. First of all, nominated as the Eagles nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. But I think if you were watching that game, like who was the one Eagles player who really stood out? I mean, that down to down matchup between him and Nick Bosa as he's coming back from having to miss the week before. What a performance!
I agree, and I put that matchup, like 12 or 13 of the plays. I mean, I've never seen in any game that Nick Bosa has played, and he is a tremendous player, but I've never seen that many one-on-ones with an offense tackle where he's not chipped, he's not, he's not doubled, he's not slided to. I mean, it was just Lane and Nick, like in a phone booth, one-on-one, play after play. And I mean, to be able to stay locked in, and just to be able to focus like that, play in, play out. And there was plenty of times when Jaylen had 3, 4, 5 seconds or more to throw the ball. And that usually doesn't happen. In fact, I talked to Nick about it just a couple of weeks ago before the Tampa game. And I was saying, hey, the sack numbers are coming up. Nick, looks like you're getting home a lot more. And he goes, yeah, but it helps if we're covering a lot better and the quarterback has to hold the ball. Like for any pass rusher, if the quarterback has to hold it, hitch, go to a third read, whatever, that gives them a chance to get home. Well, they had that chance on Sunday afternoon, and Lane didn't give them many opportunities to get to the quarterback.
Well, that leads me to asking you about Jalen's performance in this game, Baldy, because if the defense is giving up 6 straight touchdown drives, you're probably not going to win that game no matter what the offense does. But if the defense had gotten a few more stops, it didn't feel like the offense was necessarily ready to go blow for blow with the Niners in this game. And what I think was a little bit disappointing was, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown were like very up for this game. They played very well in that first half. Lane Johnson was very up for this game. The best players on offense were there to have a big day, with the possible exception of Jaylen Herz. What did you see from him and those plays when he was holding the ball? Are there times when the ball needed to be out there were guys for him to throw to?
Well, it was the single best game I've seen the 49ers play in the secondary since Kyle Shanahan's been there. I mean, whether it was Travarius Ward against A.J. Brown, whether it was Dominor Lenore in the slot, whether it was Ambry Thomas, Fred Warner batting balls down the middle of the field. I mean, honestly, Jaylen didn't have many opportunities. When they got to the red zone, they went straight man, and I didn't see separation. There was plays where they went max protection. They took speedo route combinations of AJ and Devontae. They just happened to be in zone coverage, and there was just no place to fit the ball in, and there wasn't a safety valve. And so Jaylen was holding the ball because he was just waiting for somebody to come open and to get free. And then I thought he was taken off too soon on some protections. But honestly, I don't blame him. Like he's waiting for somebody to get open, and he's just saying, okay, I'm going to leave the pocket. I'm going to get out of the pocket, and somebody will break free. Well, they plastered the receivers. It was the single best performance by this 49ers secondary I've seen in a long time.
That's really good context for the game for the Eagles on offense. Let's close this out with a little peek forward to the Cowboys on Sunday. Obviously, now the top of the NFC, much more jumbled than it was a week ago. The Eagles sort of need this win if they want to, keep pace for getting the number 1 seed. A very difficult place to play, a team that plays them very tough. How do you sort of see this matchup coming down?
Well, I mean, it's the biggest game that the Eagles play all year, every year. And now this one in Dallas on a Sunday night, national TV. Yes, it's at the end of a ridiculous gauntlet that started with Dallas, on a Sunday night in Kansas City and Buffalo and San Francisco. This is a stretch like no other team has faced this year. But sometimes you get that type of an opponent, it brings the best out of you. Like I just knew when I was with the Eagles and we went to play in Dallas, like it's not in it's not a difficult game to get up for, especially if you're licking your wounds from getting a beat down. Like Brandon Graham said it, like maybe it's good that we got the stuff and beat out of us. We can't just be living on borrowed time. We got to go make things happen. And we can't wait for 59-yard field goals to go to overtime, and some of the things that happened in this stretch. But look, Dallas is playing great football, and the Eagles defense is playing horrible football. It looks like a bad matchup unless the Eagles offense just wakes up and they just say, okay, we're going to protect our quarterback. We're going to attack downfield. We're going to get the ball to our playmakers, and we're going to commit to the run and find 3 or 4 runs that work and stick with them and get DeAndre Swift involved in this game. And so I think it's going to, honestly, like I don't expect the Eagles defense to shut down this Cowboys offense. But what I am hoping for is this Eagles offense to wake up and to play great football, start to finish, not wait around, like go down. And if you're in the red zone, like finish it with touchdowns because you're going to need touchdowns in this game. So, look, I think they got to score in the 30s, Bo, to win this game. And they're more than capable of doing that. But they need their best performance here in this gauntlet of games that they've played from the offense, I think, to win this game.
I think that is really well said. We appreciate the insight as always, Baldy. Look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks as always, and check out the All City All NFL podcast with Cuz. Look forward to that. Thanks, Baldy.
Okay. Thanks, Bo. Thanks. Talk to you next week, buddy.